Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and I have another Brian Cates thread, but I have some other articles and stuff to go with it, so I wanted to bring this to your attention. This is really kind of short, but he brings out such a good point here. It's something everybody needs to be aware of. Okay, I've said this myself, just about the same things. Now remember, before you all start yelling, oh no, we've known this for 2 years now, ever since October of 2017. That's right, you have known this. Trust me on this. Plenty, and I mean plenty, of people don't know this yet. And that has to do with this tweet from Sarah Carter, which points out something that I pointed out in the Devon Nunez video that I just did. And it was that, yes, this is where the money came from. Okay, and like I said, they tried to stop them getting the bank records, but they did succeed. And Devon Nunez says, yes, there's proof there that that's where the money came from. Okay, so that's what he's talking about. And it goes on and says, there was a poll a couple of months back. 64% of the people polled still had no idea whatsoever that Fusion GPS was being paid by the Hillary Clinton campaign and the DNC to produce the Steele dossier and shop the Trump-Russia allegations all over to news media outlets. Okay, I know, folks, you probably don't realize this if you don't have a lot of friends or you don't know people who are liberals, but I'm telling you, a lot of people in the United States don't know this. They don't know what has really gone on. They haven't seen the documents because they watch the liberal news, and the liberal news is not telling them what's really going on. And he goes on and he says, yes, I've known since October 2017 about this, and you've known since October 2017 about this, but more than half of the public out there doesn't yet. While about 30% of the public, like us, is screaming for Barr and Horowitz and Trump to hurry up already, more than 50% have no idea what's up. This has to be managed carefully or it can get away from them. They have to have all the T's crossed and all the I's dotted. Does this sound familiar? I've been saying this. When they roll this next Horowitz report out, because this is the one where the shots get fired at the Democrats' Fort Sumter. I'm telling you, this is the one. You think you know how they're going to react when Horowitz releases this report, and all of a sudden over a dozen top people who used to work at the DOJ and FBI get arrested, and then Durham arrests those who worked elsewhere. And you're wrong. Take that and magnify it by 100. I'm thinking it may even be more than that. Okay? We're talking a huge amount of people that were involved in this. A big amount of people trying to stop this current administration by any means possible. The evidence is going to have to be carefully laid out and exhaustive and definitive because experts are going to try to take a flamethrower to it to save these people. As I said in my latest Epic column, a massive public relations effort is already gearing up. And I'm going to put the link to this article down below because basically, he does a good job here. What he's saying is that the next narrative to look for in the mainstream media is going to be how they can show that all of these arrests that are imminent are all about political targeting, and they are purely political hit jobs. You see, this is what had to be done. We had to have enough people come to realize that there was true corruption to a degree that we've just never had before. It's never been exposed before like this. And that had to come out first with enough people understanding that. Think of it as like a teeter-totter, okay? You've got this teeter-totter, and right now, the people who don't understand what's going on with this whole Spygate thing, they're weighing down. There's this huge weight on their side. And we're just kind of flopping around up here in the air because even though we know what the truth is, they have all the people on their side. Now, we may have the evidence, but they have the people and their belief. And we have to take this seriously, really. I've said this for a long time. If Trump would have come out and like the day after his inauguration, if he would have had these people arrested for what they did, what would have happened to our country? I think you know. It would have been a type of civil war because you had half of the country that thought anything like that, and probably more than half. I would say it probably would have been a big chunk of Trump supporters, actually, at that time, who would have said, no, this is a political hit job. This is retaliation for them daring to run against you. And that's what they would have thought. And even now, I've got some friends who are liberals, and I'm telling you, they still believe that Trump is just an evil man. So when all this starts coming out, they have to have absolutely everything has to be perfect. All the evidence has to be there. It has to be such an overwhelming amount of evidence that it will stop dead in its tracks this idea that there was anything to it that was political, that these people legitimately committed crimes and they are criminals and need to be prosecuted. You see, that's what we're trying to get out there. But there's just so many people still who believe the lie. And that's what he talks about here. You know, he says CNN hiring Andy McCabe is part of this gearing it up so they can spin what they're assuming this new report is going to say. Because this new report is going to call for arrests. And I believe this time the DOJ is going to do it because they're guilty. And it's going to show that. Okay? And so if you go through here, you know, look at who they have. They've got John Brennan, James Clapper, Michael Hayden. I mean, they are stocking up on these people because they need all the mainstream media. They're stocking up on people who will have a reason to speak out against Trump and will not be shy about saying, oh, it's just a political hit job. You know, because that's what Andy McCabe says, that it was just a political hit job, that's the only reason that he was fired. And that's the spin that they're giving on it, the whole thing, you know. But it was very clear, and I've got the report here in case you haven't read it. This came out, it says February, but I think it came out in April. I think that's when it was actually released. And this is the report. A report of investigation of certain allegations relating to former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe. So this was the report on Andrew McCabe, and it goes through, and it just says, you know, lack of candor. That was a big thing. And of course, you know, lack of candor, and then CNN turns around and hires him. Yeah, that's the kind of person you want working for you. But again, McCabe's whole idea, his whole spin on it is, well, you know, this was just a hit job. And it was, and here it talks about Horowitz's report on the matter was completely damning for McCabe. And there's the link to it. And like I said, I'll leave the link down below so you can read it if you want to. So McCabe and CNN's media host will attempt to spin his hiring as a noble endeavor. A man wrongly fired is being given a national news platform to defend himself and others who are supposedly the targets of this vindictive president exacting revenge through federal agencies. This is a sham. And it is. I mean, he's being given this platform now for one reason only. It's an attempt to control the national consensus as the Spygate scandal is soon to gain more visibility with the coming release of the IG's FISA abuse report and as more documentary evidence supporting the scandal is declassified. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure that we won't really see any of the declassified documents until after this FISA report comes out. I think the FISA report has to come out first. Anyway, this is a good article. He does go through it and he points out, you know, that's why they're hiring these people, because they know what's coming out. They were part of it. Remember, the media was part of all this. Remember, over 100 of them were conspiring together with the DNC during the 2016 election cycle. And it's in WikiLeaks, in the DNC's own WikiLeaks emails. And so remember that. I do have that meme on my meme page on my website. So if you go there, you can download it and share it. Because it's really important to get that information out there, because there are still so many people who don't know. They honestly don't. And I think this is one of the reasons, I think this is the main reason why the 17th letter of the alphabet even started posting. It was because there had to be a way to break through the mainstream media, since they have such a stranglehold on the information the American people hear and see. So this, this was an important part of it. And all of us need to take that responsibility very seriously and share the facts and information. Talk to your friends about it. If you've got some that, even if they're Republicans and they don't know what's going on, they need to know. I mean, it's just very important for people to understand what was going on. And he says the initial rollout is going to be crucial. More than 50% of the public is going to suddenly wake up to what's going on. And that's when CNN and McCabe and Comey and the rest are going to try to seize their attention and hold it. And there's the article I just showed you. Now, today, things are much better for Trump and company than they were 2 years ago when he was laboring under a huge cloud caused by the Mueller investigation and constant media propaganda that he was a Russian stooge. But that doesn't mean this still doesn't have to be carefully done. So don't lose your temper when you see somebody like Devon Nunez come out and talk about this, and a news report that covers this like it's new information. For some people out there, it is new information. And that's what we have to remember. That I know sometimes people say, oh, you already talked about this. Well, yes, I did. But there are new people all the time starting to wake up. And it's important to have this information available so they can understand, too, what we've known for a couple years. So we really need to remember that. And don't take it for granted that people know this, because they don't. I mean, look at these comments underneath it. I know a lot of people who know nothing about what has been happening. Sometimes I bring up a topic and people look at me like I've lost my mind. I think the percentage of people who don't know may be higher. Isn't that a scary thought? And some of that will be your perceptions as to where you live, because, I live in the Midwest, and around here, this is Trump country right around here. So there's not a problem. I wear my MAGA hat all the time. Nobody's giving me any guff over it at all. And, I don't think there would be a lot of problems. And if you live on like one of the coasts, you may find quite a different experience. But, there are a lot of people who just don't know. And so this one says, a liberal attorney I know has never heard of Nellie Orr. It's shocking. And it is shocking to us, but they just don't know. How are they going to hear it? Because MSNBC and CBS and ABC and NBC and CNN, they're not going to tell them, right? So how are they going to know? We've got to tell them. A red pill, there will be many. Yes, there are going to be many coming up. Most will believe it to be a conspiracy theory, and I think that's the danger we have. Although the Jeffrey Epstein thing really helped out in that respect, because everybody who's looking at it, even people who are liberals, are going, wait a minute, the cameras didn't work. He was supposed to be on suicide watch. Things are not adding up. There's something fishy there. A lot of people didn't believe the official narrative. And that's the important part, that we're getting people to question the official narrative. And if we can do that, then they start to have their eyes open. So that's really, really important. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, if you use Twitter and you go in and you do this, send to the @reader app, and unroll and then put this, and it will unroll like the whole thread, and it'll put it in one page. so you can read it. Let me open it and I'll show you. Which is also kind of nice too if it's a thread of something that you think may end up being deleted. You know, if Twitter doesn't like it, it may delete it. But you know what? It doesn't delete these threads. So if you've done this thread on it, then see, it goes through and it puts all the posts in one place. So it makes it a little easier for some people to read, you know, if you're not used to reading Twitter, and it's a little more comfortable. So there you go. And like I said, you can bookmark this. You can save it as a PDF. Really kind of handy. And especially if it's something you think is going to be deleted and you really want to hang on to it, that's the way to do it. So anyway, this one says, what difference does it make? Who knows and who doesn't know? AG Barr knows and the grand juries know. It's what is going to happen that counts. Many are worried that nothing will happen. Okay, yes, that's true. But I do have to say on this one, and I did respond to him actually, that, let's see if it shows. Yeah. And I said, sadly, it makes a huge difference. If half the country thinks these upcoming arrests are purely for political reasons, America will be divided even further. It's vital that enough of the country is aware of the depths of these people's criminality before it is all exposed. And that's why people were gotta wake them up. So make sure that there's somebody else did the thread there. But make sure that you're sharing this information, that you're telling people about it, because, you know, this guy says, I've never talked to anyone that didn't know this, but, you know, talk to anyone who watches CNN, MSNBC, NBC, and it's as if they live on Mars. It really is like it's a different world, an alternate reality of some kind. And here, this one says, true, some people really believe what they watch. Also, some people do not watch the news or read about politics. And that's a group of people, too, that we have to deal with. This lack of interest is something that needs to change going forward. It's the reason we're at this point in the first place. And there are greedy, ugly people. Yes, yes. And, you know, this one says, we know they paid Perkins Coie. I don't remember ever having any direct payments from the Clinton camp or DNC. Perkins Coie was always the buffer. And that's what I thought it was, but evidently they can follow the money trail from Perkins Coie and then Fusion GPS and then to Christopher Steele. And I think that's what the documents showed. And, you know, my worry is, do you think that 64% will care? That's what keeps me up at night. I don't think they will. I do think they're going to care. I think a lot of people are going to care. And this was a really good comment. Great point. I keep forgetting this part. Most are not digital soldiers and not the news yet. So, you know, we need to remember that. This one says, no one in my family, friend, or work circle knows anything about this. There are a lot of people. And this one, you know, says, I'm confident it's being done properly. I base this on Whitaker's interviews. If you've followed Whitaker's interviews, he's been doing a really good job. I mean, he doesn't say anything that he can't say, but he does give good indications that it's being done and it's being done right. And that's what has to be done, because folks, if they don't put all these cases together just perfectly, if there is any little niche or anything they can latch on to, they will, because you know that's how the left works. And they have all these lawyers that work for them. So that's what they will do. They're going to go in there and try to find any little foothold they can get to try to break it apart and to destroy it. So everything has to be done perfectly. And we only get one chance at this. So we need to make sure it's all done right. If we mess this up, and this is why I think they didn't go after Comey. Well, one of the reasons is because it was an iffy case because of when things were classified. They weren't classified technically at first, and it was hazy in too many places. And if they would have lost that, it would have given the deep state a big victory. And we just can't afford that at this point. I'd rather the man not be charged for that and then be charged for his treason. That I'm okay with that. All right? They can tack that on later if they want to, but I don't really care. I don't want to take a possibility of losing that one at this stage in the game. So, Anyway, it was really good to go through this. And some people, I mean, this one says those that already do not know, don't want to know, or suffer from a severe case of cognitive dissonance. No, I really just think that people have been told the lies so many times that they believe them. I have a good friend who's not a liberal who just can't accept the fact that Trump might possibly be a good guy. I mean, they just think he is the lowest pond scum on earth. And I have a hard time getting them to think differently. So, and they are, not liberals. So anyway, yeah. I just wanted to point this out to you. And yeah, I know we're all tired of the speculation and the theories and everything. We want action. But again, we can't mess this up. This is historical. And there just can't be a loss here. It has to be 100% victory. And so things have been put in place. Plus, remember, this article right here is telling us that the mainstream media knows it's coming and they are preparing this massive public relations campaign because they need to spin it and spin it big time to make it look like it's all mean old Trump who's doing this. They don't want to even allow anyone to say, oh, well, maybe these people did do something wrong. That's what they're going to have to be up against. And we've come a long way. I mean, in the last 2-3 years, the mainstream media has lost a lot of viewers just because people are starting to see what's going on. When this Russian collusion thing all fell apart, they couldn't spin it anymore. And then we had that report, about the editor that said, well, now we've got to change tactics and just go after Trump's character and we want to paint him as a racist. That's how it's working. Because that exposed so much of what's going on behind the scenes. And people are starting to pick up on it. We're seeing a lot more people who are going, something's not right. And that's the first stage to waking up. You don't wake up right away when you do. It's little things along the way. You just get all these questions. And pretty soon, there's so many questions that you go, wait a minute. Something's not right here. It was like I said with the Epstein thing. Too many questions. Something's not right. What's not right? Well, we're not sure, but we know what they're telling us is not necessarily what's true. So that is huge. And so when this starts coming out, I don't know. It's too bad it's not going to be hyped like the Mueller report. I will bet you that the New York Times and Washington Post aren't going to have copies of this for sale on Amazon, this new report. But, I hope it gets around. We need to make sure that it's spread around to a lot of people. So anyway, that's what I've got for you on that. And I will leave this report down below so you can read it. I also wanted to point this out to you. This was just out August 26th. This guy testified, because I did a video on this. When he testified before Congress, he said that it was, a lot less votes. But that was for the 2016 election. And he had proof of that. But here he says in 2018, get this, it may have shifted 78.2 million votes. Can you imagine? I mean, that right there is kind of telling you that there was a lot of interference in our election, and it was not from outside our country. So anyway, I wanted to point that article out to you. It was a really good article from Sarah Carter's site. And so the important stuff going on. I mean, I have a whole big bunch of tabs that are open right now that I could go through, but let's just stick with what I've got here because this is enough. Remember, it's happening. It's going to happen, but we've got to make sure all of our ducks are in a row. Everything is perfect before it's rolled out. And we need more people to wake up first. so this doesn't divide the country. We need people to make sure that when this report comes out, they don't see it as just a political hit job by one side of the aisle, because that's not what it is. It's saying this is the law and these people need to be held responsible for it. And something else that Brian Cates pointed out in his article here is that this really is taking down a group of elite people who thought they were above the law, who thought they were untouchable. And that's why it's taken so long, okay? Because, they thought they had everything under their control and nobody was going to touch them. Yeah, they guessed wrong, because we stood behind Trump and Trump won. So anyway, that's what I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.